Welcome everyone to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and numismatic treasures, where tiny pieces of metal that most people overlook in their daily lives can sometimes be worth fortunes beyond imagination. And today we're talking about one coin in particular that has captured the attention of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike, the 1990 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, a humble penny in appearance yet rumored to have sold for as much as $10 million due to a perfect storm of minting errors, production anomalies, and historical intrigue. And as we unravel the story behind the seemingly ordinary coin, we're going to explore not only the specific mistakes and features that make it so valuable but also the broader world of minting processes, error classification, collector psychology, and the many factors that turn a single cent into a life-changing discovery, because the truth is, coins like this are born not just from metal and dies, but from a convergence of chance, precision, and imperfection that produces something truly unique. So let's start by setting the scene in 1990, when the Denver Mint was producing millions upon millions of Lincoln cents using the standard composition of copper-plated zinc introduced in 1982, a cost-saving measure after the government switched away from the traditional solid bronze alloy, and each coin was supposed to bear the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and the small but vital D mint mark to signify its production in Denver. Yet among this ocean of coins, certain examples emerged that did not conform to the intended specifications, whether through planchet issues, die misalignments, double striking, or other rare minting mishaps, and one such coin has become the stuff of legend, as it combined multiple anomalies that, individually, might add modest value to a coin but together created something so unique that high-end collectors were willing to bid astronomical amounts for the privilege of owning it. And to understand why, we need to break down the possible errors that can occur in the minting process, starting with the double die error, where the design elements of the coin appear to be duplicated, slightly offset, or blurred due to misalignment between the die and the planchet during multiple strikes, which can lead to doubled lettering in Liberty or In God We Trust, or ghosting on Lincoln's face, a visually striking error that collectors adore because it's immediately visible without magnification. And then there's the off-center strike, where the blank planchet is not properly seated in the striking chamber, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing and a blank crescent of metal remains on one side, which becomes more valuable as the degree of off-centering increases while still leaving the date intact. A key point for collectors since the date is often what confirms the rarity of the error. And then we have broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally constrains its edges, causing it to spread outwards and appear larger than normal, another type of error that can be visually dramatic. And in some cases, coins are struck on the wrong planchet entirely, such as when a 1-cent design is accidentally struck on a dime or foreign coin blank, producing a piece with mismatched size, weight, and metal composition, which skyrockets its rarity and desirability. And there's also the famous mule error, where the obverse and reverse designs belong to different coin types entirely, creating a one-of-a-kind collectible. But for the 1990 D penny in question, experts believe that the specific combination included a misaligned die strike, noticeable doubling in key inscriptions, and a possible transitional planchet anomaly, meaning it may have been struck on a leftover bronze planchet from before the composition change, or even on a foreign coin blank, making it heavier and slightly different in color from typical 1990 cents. And because transitional errors occur when mints switch materials or designs, they carry an aura of historical significance in addition to their rarity. And when you add to that the possibility of a full red uncirculated condition with no signs of wear, the visual appeal skyrockets, and collectors are willing to pay whatever it takes to acquire a specimen that checks so many rarity boxes. And that's before we even consider the role of provenance, because if a coin has a traceable history, say it came from a well-known hoard or was discovered in a remarkable way, it becomes a story piece as much as a physical collectible, and collectors love owning a story they can tell, which is why this 1990 D penny's journey from ordinary pocket change to multi-million-dollar artifact is almost as important as its technical errors. And to understand how this happened, we need to remember that coin collecting is as much about human passion as it is about metal, as competitive bidding at high-end auctions can push prices far beyond what a purely technical analysis might suggest. And when two or more wealthy collectors decide they must have a coin, the price can soar into the millions in mere minutes, especially if the coin is certified by top grading services like PCGS or NGC at the highest possible grade for its type. And in this case, the 1990 D error penny is believed to have received such certification, cementing its place as a once-in-a-lifetime find. And what's truly fascinating is that coins like this can still be out there in circulation, tucked away in jars of change or old desk drawers, because while the majority of error coins are caught by quality control at the mint, some slip through and make their way into the hands of the public, where they can remain unnoticed for decades, meaning that any time you receive a penny in change, you might be holding a small fortune without realizing it. And if we expand this thought, it becomes clear why numismatics can be so addictive. There's always the possibility that the next coin you examine will be the one that changes your life, and this is why learning to identify the various types of errors is crucial, from repunchment marks, where the D was applied more than once and leaves traces of multiple impressions, to die cracks that leave raised lines on the coin's surface, to lamination errors where impurities in the metal cause parts of the surface to peel or flake away, all of which can add varying levels of value. And for the 1990 D penny, the magic was in how these elements came together in one coin, in flawless condition, at a moment in minting history when such a combination should have been impossible, making it a true anomaly. And when anomalies occur, they disrupt the predictable patterns of supply and demand, creating a spike in perceived value that can last for decades, especially if no other examples surface. And here's where the speculative aspect of coin collecting comes in, because even without another example ever appearing, rumors of such coins can fuel interest in searching for them, keeping demand alive, and in turn making the known specimen even more desirable. And when that specimen is already housed in a secure collection or museum, the rarity is further enhanced, as potential buyers know they may never get another shot at acquiring it, which creates a perfect storm for price inflation. And yet, the possibility of finding another one is what keeps people searching, as coin roll hunters meticulously inspect thousands of pennies looking for the tiniest telltale signs of error, sometimes using high magnification loupes, sometimes just relying on trained eyes, and every so often, a new discovery makes headlines, rekindling hope and driving up interest. And this cycle has repeated countless times in numismatic history, but the 1990 D penny remains one of the most tantalizing examples, as it blends technical minting anomalies with a narrative of mystery and fortune. And when you think about it, this coin is more than just a collector's item, it's a piece of American history, a testament to the complexity of industrial processes, and a symbol of how imperfections can make something far more beautiful and valuable than perfection ever could. And that's why today, decades after it was minted, the legend of the 1990 D Lincoln cent still inspires dreams, fuels debates, and motivates treasure hunters across the country to keep their eyes open and their change jars full, because you never know when the next great find might appear in the palm of your hand. And with that, remember that the world of rare coins is as vast as it is fascinating, and sometimes, the smallest objects can hold the biggest stories. And if you enjoyed this exploration of the remarkable 1990 D penny and the extraordinary circumstances that transformed it from a common coin into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece, stay curious, keep searching, and always check your change, because your next penny might just be worth a fortune. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can join us on more incredible journeys into the hidden treasures of history and the remarkable stories they tell. Next. Today we are going to explore one of the most incredible examples of this phenomenon, the 1997 1-cent coin, a coin that in certain rare conditions and with particular errors can command a jaw-dropping value of $6 million, an amount that seems unimaginable for something most people treat as insignificant. But as we'll discover, the world of numismatics is full of surprises, twists, and mind-blowing stories where minting mistakes, historical context, and sheer rarity come together to create pieces of metal that collectors are willing to pay life-changing sums for. So sit tight as we unravel why this 1997 penny can reach such an astronomical value, starting with the background of the coin itself, minted in the United States during a period when the Lincoln Memorial reverse design was still in use and struck primarily in copper-plated zinc rather than the earlier bronze composition. These coins were churned out by the billions across the Philadelphia, Denver, and sometimes West Point mints for circulation, yet among those billions a minuscule number were afflicted with striking errors, planchet mistakes, die deterioration issues, and even the occasional dramatic off-metal strike, which are the key elements that make certain examples stand out and command extraordinary sums. And when we talk about errors, we're not just discussing minor imperfections but rather dramatic anomalies that instantly transform a coin from a common penny into a world-class rarity, such as double dies where the design elements like the date, the word liberty, or the motto "I in God We Trust" are visibly doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process, giving the coin a distinct and collectible uniqueness, or off-center strikes where part of the design is missing because the planchet was not properly seated in the striking chamber. And these can range from subtle misalignments to wild 50% off-centers that reveal the blank metal beneath, further increasing desirability. Then there are broad strikes where the retaining collar fails and the coin expands beyond normal dimensions while still showing a complete design, creating a stretched and unusual appearance, or die caps where a previously struck coin sticks to the die and imprints its distorted image onto subsequent planchets, producing a ghostly, concave look that serious collectors find irresistible. And let's not forget about off-metal errors where a penny is struck on a planchet intended for a dime or even a foreign coin, making the piece not only rare but also an absolute conversation starter in the numismatic community. Now, in the specific case of the 1997 penny valued at $6 million, the story often involves a combination of extreme rarity, dramatic visual appeal of the error, and pristine condition, because in the high-stakes world of coin auctions, condition is king, and even the most fascinating error will see its value multiplied exponentially if it is preserved in a flawless, uncirculated state with full luster and no signs of wear. And that's where third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC come in, as they authenticate the error, assign it a grade, and encapsulate it in a protective holder, giving buyers confidence in its legitimacy. Imagine, for example, a 1997 penny struck 75% off-center on a copper-nickel dime planchet, graded MS 68 by PCGS with blazing red surfaces and full mint luster. Such a coin is not just rare, it is a once-in-a-lifetime find that could spark fierce bidding wars among top collectors, driving the price into the millions. But beyond the purely physical aspects of the coin, there is also the allure of the story, the romance of imagining how this flawed yet perfect example of a minting mistake slipped past quality control and made its way into the world, possibly passing through countless hands before being recognized for its true significance, perhaps lying unnoticed in a jar of change for decades until a sharp-eyed collector spotted the telltale signs of an extraordinary error. And that's where the magic happens, because numismatics is as much about stories as it is about metal, and every rare coin is a tangible connection to history, industry, and chance, with the 1997 penny also benefiting from the nostalgia factor of being part of the pre-2000s era of U.S. coinage, when designs and production methods were in a transitional phase, increasing the likelihood of certain types of mistakes as equipment aged and processes evolved. Some experts speculate that certain dramatic 1997 errors may have been the result of mint machinery being set incorrectly during maintenance, or dies being reused beyond their optimal lifespan, which can lead to die cracks, cuds, and other striking anomalies that collectors love. And because error coins were never intentionally produced for the public, each one is essentially a unique accident, meaning no two are exactly alike, which only amplifies their desirability. Especially in a market where wealthy collectors are competing to own the most spectacular examples. And let's not underestimate the role of auction dynamics, where once a coin like this hits the block at a prestigious venue such as Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, the combination of scarcity, appeal, and competitive bidding can push the price far beyond even the high estimates, with seasoned bidders knowing that missing out on such a piece could mean waiting years, if not decades, for a similar opportunity. And sometimes these coins also benefit from a snowball effect of publicity, with news articles, numismatic blogs, and social media posts showcasing the coin and sparking interest among both veteran collectors and curious newcomers, which in turn can inspire more people to check their own change, further fueling the mystique of the $6 million penny. And while it's true that most 1997 pennies are worth only face value, the possibility that one could be a multimillion dollar error is enough to make anyone take a second look, because the thrill of the hunt is a huge part of what keeps the coin collecting community vibrant. And in the case of this legendary example, every detail from the metallic composition and minting process to the exact nature of the error plays a role in determining its astronomical value, making it a perfect case study in how numismatics transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. So the next time you find yourself holding a 1997 penny, take a moment to really look at it under good light. Examine the date, the lettering, the rims, and the reverse for anything unusual, doubling, missing elements, distortions, or odd colorations. And remember that somewhere out there is a coin that started life looking just like yours but ended up as one of the most valuable pennies in the world, changing its finder's life forever, proving that sometimes, in the world of coins, a penny saved truly can be a fortune earned. And with that, I encourage you to stay curious, keep learning about the fascinating errors and varieties that make coins special, and never underestimate the potential hiding in the smallest pieces of change in your pocket or purse, because you just might be holding the next $6 million treasure without even knowing it. Last Today's story is all about a 2002 D 1-cent coin that in certain extremely rare conditions has sold for as much as $1.8 million, a jaw-dropping figure that instantly captures the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters everywhere. And as we go deep into its fascinating background, we will explore the remarkable errors, rare minting anomalies, and unique physical characteristics that can elevate a simple copper-plated zinc penny from face value to life-changing wealth, because in the world of numismatics, not all coins are created equal, and it's often the tiniest mistakes that create the biggest paydays. So to understand why a 2002 D penny could be worth millions, we first need to remember that in 2002 the United States Mint, particularly the Denver facility marked with the D Mint mark, produced billions of pennies featuring the Lincoln Memorial reverse design and Abraham Lincoln's iconic portrait on the obverse, struck on planchets made of a zinc core plated with copper. A composition introduced in 1982 to replace the earlier 95% copper-bronze alloy, and while billions were made to tight specifications, the minting process is still a human-engineered system subject to mechanical failure, die wear, planchet preparation problems, and alignment issues, and in those rare moments where something goes wrong in just the right way, you get coins that slip past quality control with highly visible and often spectacular errors. So let's imagine the kinds of errors that could transform a 2002 D penny into a multimillion-dollar numismatic treasure, starting with dramatic double die obverse where the date, mint mark, and lettering like Liberty or I in God We Trust appear visibly doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process when the die itself was created, giving the coin an unmistakable and collectible appearance that instantly sets it apart, or the possibility of a dramatic reverse double die where the Lincoln Memorial and inscriptions like United States of America and 1 cent show crisp doubling that's visible even to the naked eye. Then there are off-center strikes where the coin design is misaligned, ranging from subtle offsets to extreme 50% or more off-center impressions that leave large blank crescent-shaped areas of planchet exposed, a feature that's not only eye-catching but also highly desirable among error collectors. And sometimes these off-center strikes are combined with full visible dates, which greatly boosts their value. Because collectors love to see the date fully intact alongside the dramatic error. Another possibility is a broad strike error where the retaining collar fails during striking, allowing the metal to expand outward beyond normal dimensions while still showing the complete design, creating an oversized penny that feels instantly unusual when held, or even more spectacular, a die cap error where a struck coin sticks to either the obverse or reverse die and acts as an unintentional second die, impressing a distorted, concave, and often ghostly image onto subsequent coins until it eventually falls off, producing pieces with bizarre and beautiful distortions unlike anything in regular circulation. Then there are off-metal errors, the rarest and often most valuable, where a penny is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination such as a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin, resulting in the wrong size, weight, and sometimes wrong metallic composition, which instantly skyrockets its rarity and desirability. Now imagine combining pristine condition with one of these dramatic errors. For instance, a 2002 D penny struck 90% off-center on a copper-nickel dime planchet, graded MS-69 read by a major grading service like PCGS or NGC, with full blazing luster and absolutely no contact marks. Such a coin would not just be rare, it would be utterly unique and essentially irreplaceable, making it the perfect storm for millionaire-level bidding wars at top-tier auctions. And the condition factor cannot be overstated, because in the numismatic market, rarity plus high grade equals exponential value growth. So while a circulated error penny might be worth a few $100 or $1,000, a flawless mint state example with an extreme and photogenic error could easily leap into 6- or 7-figure territory. And that's before we even factor in the powerful role of collector psychology and auction dynamics, where 2 or more wealthy bidders determined to own a coin will push the price far beyond published estimates, especially when the piece has an undeniable visual wow factor. But beyond the numbers, part of what makes the 2002 D penny story so compelling is the idea that these coins can go unnoticed for years, passing through countless hands, tossed into change jars, or sitting in drawers before someone finally notices something unusual, a doubled letter, a missing section of design, an oversized rim, and realizes they're holding something extraordinary. And once that discovery happens, the coin's journey changes forever, often leading to authentication and grading, then to high-profile auction sales where its fame grows and its market value becomes a matter of public record, fueling even more interest in the date and mint mark from other collectors. And sometimes these famous errors create ripple effects where ordinary people start checking their own pocket change, leading to more discoveries of smaller or less dramatic 2002 D Errors that still command respectable premiums, such as die cracks that appear as raised lines on the coin's surface, cuds where part of the die breaks away leaving a blob of extra metal connected to the rim, misaligned dies that cause one side of the coin to be shifted relative to the other, and even plating bubbles from improper copper bonding to the zinc core that result in tiny raised blisters on the surface, each of these lesser errors being collectible in their own right but not nearly at the level of the truly extreme minting mistakes that can fetch millions. And what's fascinating is that the US Mint never intentionally makes these errors for circulation, so each one is essentially an accidental work of art, a one-of-a-kind piece that tells a story about the manufacturing process and its occasional imperfections. And because these coins were not meant to exist, their numbers are incredibly small. Sometimes only one or two examples of a particular error are known, making them rarer than the rarest vintage coins in terms of sheer population. And when you combine that rarity with a perfect storm of high grade, extreme error, strong eye appeal, and historical interest, you have the recipe for a coin that can legitimately sell for $1.8 million or even more in the right circumstances. So next time you come across a 2002 D penny, don't just assume it's ordinary. Take the time to examine it closely under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. Look at the date, the mint mark, the lettering, the rims, the Lincoln Memorial, and even the fields for any signs of doubling, misalignment, cracks, or odd shapes. Weigh it to see if it matches the standard 2.5 grams or is lighter or heavier, and always trust your instincts if something feels unusual, because history has shown us time and again that life-changing treasures can be hiding in the most unassuming places, and maybe, just maybe, the next $1.8 million coin is already sitting unnoticed in your change jar, waiting for the right set of eyes to see it for what it truly is. A small but powerful piece of minting history with the power to transform an ordinary day into an unforgettable moment of discovery and excitement.